Welcome to the new sound of online radio. Welcome to the sound of Universal Broadcasting Network. 'Cause you make me feel like I've been locked out of hell. A mix of today's hits and hard-to-find favorites, combined with the most entertaining and intriguing talk anywhere. This is your sound. This is the sound of Universal Broadcasting Network at UBNradio.com.
Welcome to It's Time to Talk. I'm April.
And I'm Deidre. Happy Saturday, everybody. What's going on?
Happy Saturday.
What's up?
You know what? I've been a little... Wait, why are you going to say cranky? I saw you with your lips.
I wasn't going to say cranky,
okay.
but that's a good word.
I've been a little cranky today, you guys.
That's a good word.
Just a little under the weather. Mm-hmm. But you know what? Oddly enough, when we pulled on the lot here at Sunset Gower, I just started feeling like really good.
Get energized.
Like some good adrenaline just started pumping through my veins.
Isn't that something, how your mind is powerful? Because earlier you were, I looked at you earlier and I was like, do you want to do the show? You look really sick. You don't look that good. Like, what are we going to do?
Yeah,
but
you said it just like that.
I did.
So nice.
Well, family, sisters. You know me by now. But anyway, so then, as you started getting yourself together, I was like, oh, okay, she's getting herself together. But mentally, you got yourself prepared.
Yeah.
And it's just that instant how it could flick, just turn. And you can just be like, you can make a decision to, I'm going to be sick. I don't want to do it. I can't. Or, hey, I'm going to just press through. I'm going to get through this.
Let me tell you, you're right on the money with that because I was driving and, you put your little elixirs together. I went and got my little citrus defender, they call it, I think, at Starbucks. And, they infuse it with all these good citrusy flavors and vitamin C. And I said, I'm just going to go there. I'm going to go to CVS. I'm going to get my Dayquil. I just said, I'm going to do this.
Right.
I'm going to have backup and I'm going to get through this day.
Good.
Because I did feel like going back to bed. I did not feel well.
Yeah.
This is what I was telling myself. But then I was like, no, you feel good. You're good. You got this, girl. Do this. And then I said, okay.
Yes.
And then, you put on the camouflage.
Right. You put the
makeup on.
Yeah, the face
Hides
together.
everything. Thank God. So I'm here. I feel good. I feel good now.
Good.
I can honestly say I feel good. You look good.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I like your dress.
Thank you so much. It's from my daughter and my daughter-in-law. So they got this nice dress for me. It's perfect timing with the summer, though hot weather. Thank you.
I know.
Nice and cool. I was telling you earlier, I just felt like there's a furnace in my body. I don't know what is going on. It's like
going through the change.
I've done that, but but anyway,
right.
I just felt so hot today, and I was like, more ways than one. No,
I want to give a shout out to my son.
Yes.
Happy birthday,
Bossy.
My
Happy birthday.
Son turned 15 yesterday. Oh, my gosh.
We do have some shout outs to get. Oh, yeah. He's so handsome. Oh, my gosh.
He's so tall.
Oh, wow. I told you I think he's going to be taller than his dad as well. Like, he could easily be
taller than me.
6, 7, or 8 to me, I think.
7 or 8. Okay,
he's really tall. He's really tall for his age. So, but happy birthday, Bossy. He's awesome.
Yeah, I'm so proud of him. Tennis player, and he's an honor student. He's doing very well. He's thriving, and he wasn't even mad at me that I put his baby picture on Facebook.
The cutest
he's just
little
rolling
picture.
with the. There he is. He's just the kind of kid that rolls with the punches. I adore him.
Yes, he's wonderful.
And it's funny because I'm learning from him. I learn a lot from him. He's
Isn't
so cool and calm.
Right.
I get a little hyper. I get a little, amped up a little bit, and he just looks over at me, Mom. Give me that. Give me the phone. Or whatever situation I'm kind of amped up about, he's like, just, Mom, take it down a notch. And he calms me down.
That is wonderful. He knows his mom.
He knows me.
Yes, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then another congratulations to our cousin, Selah.
Yes.
She graduated from high school with honors.
Congratulations, beautiful.
So, yes, we want to say congratulations to her.
Proud of
Yes,
her.
we are.
Look
so
at that
proud.
dress. That girl is so beautiful.
Yes,
That
yes.
was
She's
her
gorgeous.
champagne party that we attended. She is absolutely a doll.
Yes.
And then, a little bit of sadness with
and our cousin Maurice, after shot him out, he graduated also
Maurice,
from high school.
of course,
Maurice.
of course.
So congratulations to him as
So
well.
many good things are happening that they outweigh the sad things, which is what I was just about to mention. It's the year anniversary after, almost a year anniversary after our cousin's passing, but her birthday is today.
It's today.
She would have been 47.
Yes, our cousin Shanera. She passed from breast cancer.
Yes.
And it's just crazy because she and I were diagnosed the same year. And she battled it for 8 long years. And, by the grace of God, mine was caught at early detection. Yeah. Early detection is key.
Oh, yes.
So please get out there, get checked, men and women, It just doesn't affect women. It's men as well.
Yes.
Get your mammograms, do your self-breast exams. Yeah. It's very important. The earlier, the better. And, so we definitely miss her. And,
we do.
And we love her.
And she's always in our hearts.
Absolutely.
And, we'll get signs. I think you said you saw a butterfly or
yes,
something.
Yes, I saw a neon.
People who are no longer with us.
Yes, exactly. I always see butterflies when family members members pass. And I saw one of her, and it was like a beautiful neon, bright, greenish yellow. Yeah. And I've never seen it since.
And that's the beautiful thing about God, because He knows our hearts. We're connected to God. We're still connected to our family members that have passed on, our friends and family members that have passed on. So I think that's a beautiful thing when you can see those signs.
Right.
When you can walk around still as we are on this earth and still see the connection to someone who has crossed over.
I think that's amazing, right?
A beautiful thing when you are open to that.
So, absolutely.
And it lets you know that, hey, she's okay.
Yes, she's okay. Just fine. She's feeling good, running around, frolicking in the flowers and the trees.
Absolutely.
And God's beautiful creations.
Absolutely. Well, we got a lot of people tuned in. Hey, everybody.
Hi, yes. Wonderful. Oh, wow. They're all tuning in to see the beautiful Hillary.
Ken Johnson. Hey, hi, Gerald. Ken. James Jones.
Hi, Sochi.
Lots of people tuned in. We seriously thank you
Hi,
so
David.
much for tuning in and supporting us and being a part of this
Hi,
conversation
Michael
today.
MJB. Oh, he said happy birthday to Abasi.
Oh, thank you, Michael. Thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you to everybody.
Thank you, David.
Congrats
on Facebook
to Shayla
gave
and a shout
Murray.
out to my son for his birthday. That was really nice. Really nice. He loved it.
Yes.
So, without further ado, we are going to bring in our guest today. Her name is Hillary Foster, and we are going to be talking about this as you are dancing. We're going to kind of make it a little bit.
I love that dancing emoji. Just be like,
me too. So we're going to kind of take it to a serious turn.
Okay.
So I'm going to let you get that out your system during this break. When we come back, we're going to be talking to Hillary Foster. She is a marriage and family therapist. And we're going to be talking about mental illness. There's a lot of things going on. A lot of big influential people that are being affected that we can see. We don't know them personally, but, they affect the masses.
Absolutely.
When they, take their lives or have breakdowns and things like that. So we're going to talk about that. And we're also going to be talking about following or finding your passion, because that could be a key to some mental issues as well. If you don't feel like you're doing what you should be doing,
right.
or, kind of trying to find your way. We're going to help you do that today. So please stay with us and we'll be right back.
Speak Your Week will guide you through the process of using the power of your thoughts and words to create more positivity and success in your life, day to day and week to week. Written by It's Time to Talk's own host, April Jordan. This dynamic book will remind you of the powerful person you really are and how to use that power to create the life that you want. Want better health, success, abundance, love, and more. Within the chapters, you will discover the kind of thoughts, emotions, and words you should be speaking about the things that matter to you most. Also, included in this book are affirmations to speak each day of the week. When spoken in daily succession, these affirmations gain momentum and can help you on your journey towards the life of your dreams. There's no other way around having the life that you want. It all starts with you. Get ready to speak your week. Available for download at Amazon.com.
the subject is going to be a little bit serious today, at least for half of the show. We're going to be talking about mental illness, and here joining us in the studio is marriage and family therapist Hillary Foster. Please welcome her to our show.
Welcome, Hillary. Woohoo!
Welcome, ladies.
So
So glad that you are here.
Yes.
And I just think that this is such a timely topic that we have you here, and you're an expert, and I just can't wait to hear what you have to say. You've been practicing for quite a while.
Yes.
Therapy. So let's just jump right in.
Yeah, just share a little bit about your background.
Please.
And then
Sure.
we can go into from there.
Absolutely. So, yes, I'm a licensed marriage family therapist. I have been licensed since 2001. Okay. So, been a while. I take some time off when I had my kids, so I took a little break and then got back into it. And yeah, so I've seen the gamut of relationship issues, anxiety, depression, just every kind of thing that people go through in their lives where they struggle. And it's been a blessing and a pleasure to people have allowed me in their lives to help them, and it's my greatest passion. So
Wow.
yeah,
That's beautiful. That it's your greatest passion. That's amazing. I love that. I want to touch on depression first of all. Because we have heard, of course, about the suicide of Kate Spade and the suicide of Anthony Bourdain.
Yeah.
And it's just, like I said before the break, we don't know them personally.
Right.
certainly.
But because they're influential, because, we watch their shows, buy their brands, and, so it makes us feel an automatic connection with them, something in common you feel like,
Absolutely.
and so it affects you. It
does.
affects you. I think it's affected a lot of people worldwide. At least I saw it in my social media.
It affected me real quick because
Yeah, I remember that. Please.
Since I work in the local mall, her store, Kate Spade's store, is literally like maybe 20 feet from where I am.
Sure is.
And so that night when that happened, you saw people at the store. Some people were buying her things because you know how it goes.
Sure.
Sometimes say you're more famous when you pass on.
I think the value is going to go up
exactly.
in the bag right now.
But I really felt affected, and I put a sign up at my stand, and I just said that I put the suicide phone number out there, and I just let people that walk by and then rest in peace and all of that, because I felt like, wow, this is
Right.
I didn't know her, but I felt very much affected.
Right.
So
absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it affects, because it's a collective unconscious. We all are connected. You're human beings. We know, and we've all had that experience. Maybe losing a loved one. Suicide is something that is is a tragic way to lose somebody. I've lost my sister to suicide, so I know personally how that is, and it's I feel for their family, because the ones left behind are really the ones struggling, and it's really difficult, because certainly when you see somebody on the public eye, or you think that, wow, they have it all together, they have money, they have fame, they have things that maybe us regular people would want and think that would solve all the problems. But I think it really speaks to that we all are the same, and we can all struggle with depression, anxiety, whatever that may be, and it's so needed to have this conversation, because we want people to know that there's people that want to help, that there are people who are trained professionals. The suicide hotline is great, but you need to let people know when you're hurting, because internally we have no idea. We could all put on our our masks, right?
Yes,
like we do, literally, and face the world and pretend that things are great. But when you strip away all that, at the end of the day, connection is what's so important, and that's how we can heal.
And I think that's the hardest part, because especially when you don't know, people just hide it, keep it to themselves. But I was watching last night, they were remembering Anthony Bourdain on CNN. And so I watched a little bit of it, and they put up some key things to look out for and questions to ask.
Oh, yeah.
So because I was thinking, like, how, no one's really going to tell you. How do you know?
No one tells you. No one tells you. I mean, just like people, just like if you say, oh, hi, how are you? I'm fine.
Right.
No one really tells everyone how they're really doing. Could you imagine those conversations?
Girl, let me tell you. You got time? How much time do you got? Let me sit down, pull up a chair.
There are those chosen few that are special, and they do that. But
yes,
but for the most part, no, we gloss over that. So it's if
Yeah. So
how do you dig deeper?
Right. So so they were mentioning certain questions to ask. If someone feels, because I guess the biggest part is feeling alone.
Certainly. And like, I'm the only one that feels this way. Nobody else could really understand. And it's true. Maybe we don't know what you're experiencing in that moment, but we all know what it's like to be in pain, or we all know what it's like to struggle. Everybody has had something in their life, most likely you're going to have a depression in your life or a family member. So I know from my own personal experience, my sister, although I know she was struggling and she had 10 years prior had a breakdown, and so I had seen her, and definitely, but she was getting help. She went to the doctor. He had prescribed her antidepressants. We had seen her Thanksgiving, which was 5 days before she took her own life, and I would have, it's my own sister. So you definitely, there's such shame and guilt about it. And I don't, you know, so I think even, it's always good, you know, to ask deeper questions, but sometimes it's up to the individual to know that, you know, there's help for you, and it's a moment in time, and it feels so monumental. I know it feels like the world is like, I know, and you've got to be in so much pain to, you know, feel like that you just want it to be over, and I get that, but everything is just a moment by moment, and we can always make, you know, there's another day, make another choice, reach out for help, just you know. So I think it's very important too.
I think it is too, and this reminds me of the mantra that I tell myself when I'm sad, you know, this too shall pass, this too shall, I will repeat that over and over, because it does I just love how you said it's a moment in time. It is, and then you think back to that, like, wait, what was I sad about, or what, you know? And I'm not trying to minimize people who are deeply depressed and things like that, but it is a moment in time, and if you can just be vocal about what you're going through, someone will be more than willing to help. I'm quite sure of it. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. And if it's, you know, maybe you don't have the support of your family, so it's different for everybody, because people either don't have family members, or they might be the ones that are causing the turmoil in their life, and you know, but that's why there are suicide hotlines there. That's why there are mental health, you know, facilities and those things that people really want to be there for you. So whether it's a friend, whether it's a stranger, you know, I mean, how many times have we all walked by people and we don't know what their experience is? So maybe it's a smile, maybe it's that, you know, stranger in the line at the grocery store, and you just might have struck up a conversation and you have no idea, but you know, emotions are all vibration, and we can, you know, be able to share that and be able to help people through those moments that are difficult. So
Absolutely. I know for me, like when you mentioned vibration and energy, all three of us, I know we're all into that.
Right.
And a lot of people may not get it, but I know for me, when I used to watch Anthony Bourdain's show, which I loved, and I remember like maybe a year or two ago, and I told you ladies earlier, but when I looked at him one day, I said, oh, he looks sad to me. He looks sad. It was something inside that I felt was missing, you know.
Sure.
And so if I would have known him, you know, then seen that, then I'd be like, hey, Anthony, you know, what's going on? Let's sit down and chat. And then maybe, you know, you could recognize, you know, some people, you're close to people and you don't recognize it, you know, and then, and then when you do, it's like, oh, wow, if I could just get to that person. Like even my mom said about Kay Spade, she said, oh, if she just would have waited one more day, you know, because you just never know what the next day brings, you know.
Absolutely.
You know, I have a question here from Gerald Harris. He said, does fear of rejection play a big part in suicide as a whole?
Good question.
That is a great question.
Yes.
I think fear of rejection is basically where you know, it's one of our deepest fears. We all want to be loved, and we all have fear of rejection. So there's those two polar opposites, you know, driving us at all times, right? So we want this one thing. We all want to be loved. That's human beings. As that is our core, our essence is love. But we are also, we've been hurt, right? We were let down, or we were disappointed maybe by a parent or a caregiver or a relationship.
Right.
So we build these walls up, and then we start to like, I'm not so sure. So then we don't put ourselves out there because we're afraid of being rejected. And I'm as far as that leading into a suicide, I mean, when people end up, the kind of juxtaposition in when it comes to suicide is depression. When you're actually in a deep depression, you're actually not as likely to commit. It's when you start to come out of that depression is actually when they have higher suicide rates, because you actually have the thought process and the means to formulate a plan and to, so it's so signs that you might want to look for, and you know, with people that you may be familiar with, like, are they doing strengths? Are they making plans? Are they saying goodbye to people? Are they giving away things? Are they doing things that are out of their character? Because actually when you're in a deep depression, so I mean, in essence, sure, fear of rejection could go so deep that it would, you know, paralyze you to be in that way. But that's the whole thing, is like, fear is this nebulous kind of thing. Like, what is really fear? It's just that it's an innate drive. We have that fight or flight, like run from the bear, like get away. But now as human beings in the world that we live in, it's like, oh, I'm afraid to I'm not going to get that job, or I'm afraid that girl's not going to like me, or I'm afraid my friend's going to, hurt my feelings, or whatever that is. So these are those little minute things. But over time, if we don't process our emotions, whatever they may be, then they start to, as we talked about, the energy stacking up. It's got to go somewhere, right? So you need to like have ways and tools to clear your energy, so you can, start anew and feel. So that would be
right, because we create so many things that are just in our heads. It's just
making
up stuff.
Yes, we do make up a lot of things.
Just walking around making up stuff.
It gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
And unfortunately, I think when it, like you said, if it just festers and you hold it all in, it can not be the best thing for you. Like it could just not turn out good.
Right. And, well, we develop because when we're born and we have these feelings, like our first memories. We all have little traumas that have happened to us. There, and a lot of times we can't even remember what they are because we were so young.
Yes.
But we develop coping mechanisms along the way. Maybe it was your friend at school, didn't sit by you at lunch. It could be something as benign as that. But when you pair it with an emotional experience, it now has become locked in. So it's kind of like, okay, I was rejected by my friend at school. So then again, carrying that through and not having that you can have a coping mechanism would be denial, repression, where you just kind of pretend it didn't happen and you go on but after a while, as we become adults, these coping mechanisms become maladaptive. Like we can't just deny everything, right? We can't just repress all our emotions, right? And so that's when things start to symptomatically show up in your life. So that's when the depressions start to, because your coping mechanisms no longer work.
Okay.
And so
at that point, I'm not to cut you off, but at that point, Hillary, so when that is happening at that moment, is that the time to talk, to get it out, to open up and say, this is how I'm feeling, this is what has happened to me, and now you've associated this feeling with this act, or rejection or whatever it is. At that moment, that should be addressed, right?
Absolutely. I mean, and that's the thing is, I think, well, see, again, I think we're talking about this in mental health, and unfortunately, there is a huge stigma, and people wait till it's too late. So what I would love everybody to take away from this is when you first start to feel something, when you start to notice things in your life are not working the way that you'd like them to work, whether they be your relationship, whether they be your family, whether they be something at work, that's the time to seek help. My analogy is always like, you don't, you have a car, you get a brand new car, and if you don't take it in to get an oil change, eventually that car is going to break down, right? So that's what most people do with their relationships. Like, I got this brand new shiny relationship. It's working out super good. We're good.
Shiny.
We love each other. It's fabulous. And then all of a sudden, like a few months in, you're kind of starting to know there's some,
depreciation.
Noises. It's making some rattling. I don't know about it. Maybe I should trade it in for a new car.
Right.
That's when it just needs a tune-up, perhaps.
It just needs a little tune-up, yes.
A little tweaking.
That's the same.
That's not tweaking. Twerking? No, not twerking.
That could help.
Your relationship.
Twerking doesn't hurt anybody.
Right? That will definitely help.
So if you're looking, so you mentioned a little bit about if you see someone depressed or if you notice those certain things. Can you just go over that just a little more in depth, perhaps, just in case, people missed it, or, you said you see someone who maybe is giving away things, is saying goodbye, is,
If you notice anything abnormal from somebody in terms of their behavior becoming super erratic and like that would be an example. Like they're starting to just give away their things. They don't care about it anymore. Maybe they don't take care of their appearance like they used to, stop taking a shower. They just don't go out anymore. You don't hear from them. We all live these busy lives, but we have those friends that we know we usually regularly hear from, and whether we all have, social media and that way to connect. But maybe if you're just sort of like, that's interesting, that's strange. So something that just feels off, again, going back to energy, we kind of know, but I think a lot of times we don't want to be intrusive. We don't want to bother somebody. We don't want to feel like, oh, well, what if, that goes back to the, oh, hi, how are you? We become, these just mechanical responses because we're really afraid to be, Budinskis or somebody that is intrusive, and maybe we don't know how to deal with those feelings either. Like, well, what if they do tell me something is seriously wrong? I don't know if I can.
I was just going to say that. I was just going to say sometimes we feel helpless. Like, what could I'm barely hanging on. Yeah. What could I do for you? Sometimes I don't know.
But that's the thing is listening.
My seat.
She's slowly going. She's like, we're having some.
Anyway,
just push it back up.
Well, it's not that easy.
It's on the side.
She's like, okay. So anyway,
sinking feeling. We're going back to sinking feeling.
I'm not in the sunken place.
Yes,
but I'm sinking.
You don't need that kind of help right now.
It's all good. I'm gonna after the break. I'm gonna work with it. I'm gonna switch it out. But anyway, so just in case you saw me going down, that's why I felt like I had to mention it.
It was sort of a metaphor.
But yeah, exactly. Great metaphor, right? So it's just so interesting. So I was thinking about a situation with myself. Like I've never, thank God, have never ever been to that dark place. But I have been in a place where I just felt sad and it was always from things in my past. And it's always things, and then as you go back and you think about the things in your past, you think about things in your childhood. Right. And that's really where it started. Right. I'm like, that incident when I was 4, when I was 5, and that happened, or she said that to me, or this, whatever. Right. But I found out what helped me is that, and I had the courage, because I call it courage, because it's a scary thing to go back there and handle those feelings.
Absolutely.
Because you just feel, I'm grown. Right? I got this. I can move forward. But no, you're still, whatever.
Carrying those things with you.
Yeah, you carry them with you. You know, whether it's your attitude, you're sassing off to people, or you're just mad and don't know why.
Yes.
You go back, and so I had to do this for myself. I had to go back. I had to talk to that little girl, and I had to figure out, even with the people, if I knew the people who were with me at that time, I had to get it straight. This was my version. I was 4. I couldn't process this.
No, absolutely
But
not.
I'm still living that, that I'm living in that world emotionally.
Certainly.
So I had to get that situation together. I had to talk to that person that was with me in that situation to find out their point of view. And once I did, I was like, oh, you didn't mean that? Oh,
right.
Okay, good. And it helped me release, but I had to have the courage because it was hurtful.
Sure.
It wasn't as, the 30 seconds I just described it. It wasn't like boom, boom, boom. It was like tears and anger and oh my God, and the pain and the I don't want to feel this.
Still there.
But afterwards I was like, I just felt lighter.
Yes,
it was like a release.
Yes. Yeah.
But I felt like I had to get God's courage to do that. Like I had to get the strength to do that because it was depleting me for years and I didn't even know it.
Well, absolutely, because our thoughts create our reality. So those thoughts that we have that is a perception. You took in that experience in a certain way. Maybe the intention wasn't that. Maybe it didn't really like how you remembered it, but it was stored. It's really literally is stored in your cells. Yeah. And so when we don't have any way to process it, and what people don't realize, most people say, well, that was in my childhood. That's in my past. That doesn't affect me. Everything that has happened to you in your childhood is actually affecting you in your current relationships. Because we act those all out. That's why you get triggered when maybe somebody, say you had parents, let's use the example of divorce, right? My parents got divorced. So, abandonment issue. You end up having a bit, like you take that in as your own personal story is like, I must not be lovable. People leave. So I can't trust people. So then your schema of the world is really based around this false belief system. Because whatever we believe, we will make true for ourselves. So we literally recreate those things. So we seek out relationships. So no surprise that I sought out a partner and that ended up doing just the same thing, abandoned, because that was my belief system. So you have to literally go back, like what you said, and almost reparenting yourself. And you don't always have to go back because some people have some serious trauma. Maybe they had abuse and they don't want to speak to that person and they're not going to confront them because that would be not safe. But you can literally do this with your own inner child. So you can write a letter to her, like her or him, at whatever age, maybe that trauma that you're first remembering, you can definitely, it's good to do it with a therapist because it's going to bring up some feels, right? So it's you're going to need to process them, but that's why journaling is such a great tool because what is our subconscious mind is, think of like we're just basically a big supercomputer. That all that stuff is stored in there all the time, and we're sort of like acting it out in all relationships, unbeknownst to us behind the scenes, right? Because the conscious brain can only process so much information. Like it's just literally, I think it's something absurd like 5 to 3% of our brain power do we really use, right? So, but there's like, true. I mean, it's really, so we're really automatically just autopilot. Most of us are going through life on autopilot, absolutely, right? Yes. Until we have an awakening, and that might be something big like a depression. So what I want people to know, even though you're in maybe like a major depression right now, know that this could be your greatest lesson, even though it doesn't feel like it. It's preparing you for something, and so it's here to teach. Like, so always ask you. This is the question I always ask myself when something comes up that I'm stumbling upon or struggling with, and I said, "What is the lesson in this? What is this here to teach me? It's something bigger than myself. Like I lost my sister. Like I'm like that shouldn't have happened, right? That's not." Something, but as it was a catalyst for a lot of change in my life. And although I would would change it and take my sister back at any time, obviously. But when these big events happen in our life, divorce, or God forbid somebody gets sick, or a diagnosis, these are the time where it's it's like the universe isn't nudging you anymore. It's like smacking you upside the head, right?
That's what you're saying is speaking to the choir, because that's what happened to me. When I went through the early breast cancer thing, same thing. My whole life flashed before me, and it was a lesson for me because it had helped me think about your life and what you're doing and where you want to go and how it's affecting you, and and I internalized so many things, and it was just so much negativity, and I was just so stressed out. Right. And then when this happened to me, it freed me. Thank God. God saved me in all of this. But after that, I said, okay, I got past this. Now, my subconscious mind, I'm thinking, I'm aware, I'm changing my life, I'm changing my lifestyle, different things like that. And it's a whole new world, as opposed to hearing a diagnosis and going, I'm going to, at first you think you're going to die. You do. Sure. And so, and then I did suffer from depression. I'm putting that out there. I went through a depression because I'm like, oh my gosh, why me? And all those thoughts. Have kids. I mean, just so many things. So I went through all that. But once I was able to get through, thank God, through prayer, through meditation, through family support, which is the family support, and once I got past all that, then I said, okay, I could breathe again. Now, Deidre, what do you really want? It's like a kid in a candy store, because you're alive. You're like, oh my gosh, I get to live again. And what am I going to do with it this time?
And you get to live a more conscious, more awake, more life.
So I think more than,
you feel like you really have a second chance.
I really have a second chance, and I think more in terms of what I'm doing, where I'm going, who I'm dealing with, things like that, who I want in my life, who I don't.
Yeah. So. It's interesting, actually, like when you bring up actually disease, like having cancer or any other kind of that's why it's called dis-ease. Your body has dis-ease emotions, that is trapped emotions that are literally causing that. So every, you could look up, there's books that will say this is what's going on. Like breast cancer is it's kind of it's a mother issue, right? And so I have had two friends recently diagnosed with that, and it's unresolved emotions that are causing us these diseases. We think it's just like, oh, I'm unlucky, but there's always if you go in the under layer of it all, that's again when you're bringing this stuff up. And I know a lot of people get scared because it's like you said, I don't want to feel that way, I don't want to deal with that. Again, going with that mantra, like this too shall pass. This is just a feeling. It's an emotion. I can change my thoughts, can change my emotions. Whatever I think, I will believe. Right. So if I think something positive, of course we go through grief and loss, and we go through those thoughts. Those are completely normal. We just don't want to stay there. You don't want to stay in those thoughts where it's like, this negativity, because vibrationally you're creating a match more for those things to come into your life. Right. So it's like, if I think the world is a scary place, guess what's going to happen to me? Scary things are going to happen. I'm going to all of a sudden, that's going to be my filter, right? That's going to be what's going to come into my awareness. So I changed my mantra and I said, things are always working out for me. So that's my mantra. Things are always working out for me, and when they're not, they are though. But they are. Right. So it's just what is it? What is the lesson in it for me? So
it's a beautiful thing. It sure things are always working out.
Right. That's my motto.
That's where we're gonna.
That's why I'm here.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Happy you're
so
here.
We're gonna take a quick break and see how things work out for us when we come back. The good thing is that this beautiful woman just has a heart to help, and that's a wonderful thing. So not only is she helping with people that have depression and anxiety, she also helps, as I hear, people find their passion. What is your life's passion? What are you doing with your life? What should you be doing with your life? When we come back from the break, we're going to talk about that. Stay tuned.
Did you know that your skin is your body's largest organ? And you should be aware of what you're applying to it. The more natural products you use, the better. The best place to start is with Did It For Love handmade natural body products, made with pure organic ingredients. Our Shea Body Butter Moisturizer is whipped to perfection and hydrates dry, cracked skin and protects from UV rays. Did It For Love Shea Body Butter Moisturizer is infused with essential oils. You can choose from scents like lavender, vanilla and sandalwood, white rose, and many more. Our deodorant has a fresh scent that not only works against odor, but also reduces sweat. With this toxin-free deodorant, you can feel fresh and confident all day long. You can also keep your lips healthy and kissable with our handmade lip balms. In healing and fruity scents like tantalizing peppermint to sensational green apple. Our products promote healthy, youthful-looking skin and is safe for the whole family, vegan-friendly, cruelty-free, and gentle enough for cancer survivors and those going through treatment. Go to diditforlove.com today. Did It for Love, toxin-free for your whole family.
Welcome back to It's Time to Talk. I certainly hope that you are enjoying this conversation as much as we are.
Yes.
It's very informative, and I thank you once again, Hillary, just giving up all the information and the much needed information, especially with things that as they are playing out in every day. So we talked about the passions.
Right.
Finding your passion before we went to the break. How do you find your passion?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Interesting. You know, it is interesting. And I think so many people ask that question, right? Like, what is my passion? What is my purpose? Why am I here? That's like the universal, right, question. Like, why am I here, right? And I think it really, sometimes your pain does become your purpose, right? So going through, I know for me, things in my life, trauma brought me to a place of wanting to be a therapist. My father was bipolar. My sister was, she wasn't, to me, wasn't diagnosed, but ended up, as I mentioned, taking her own life. So definitely my own personal struggles. So with that, going through that in this past year, I was turning 49, and I thought, wow, I'm going to be 50. How'd that happen? And that happened awfully quickly. And so I thought and I've always really, even though I was living my purpose as a therapist, I always knew I wanted to do something bigger. I just felt like I had a calling on my heart to really reach more people and to share a message of hope, and that, when you turn 50, it's not downhill. I don't like that saying. I'm going to reframe that, right? I feel like I'm just getting started, kind of like remember Oprah on her first 50th birthday when she was like, hey, and I kind of feel the same, right?
Yes.
So yeah, I want women and men as well to know that things can always change. We have the power. We're beings that have such pure positive potential. And at any moment, even if you feel like you're in the worst place in your life, literally you can change your life like that. You can change your state. Like you can change your thoughts, which then again create that momentum little by little. And that's kind of what I did. So for my journey to freedom at 50, I basically have been taking this whole year and exploring different ways of healing in terms of like spirituality and energy healing, and learning more that we all are energy and we all are vibration. We're just vibrating beings here on this planet, right?
That's right.
And if we really understand those concepts of energy, you will get to know that you can change your thoughts, therefore change your reality. And it's such a beautiful thing. And I really wanted to share that message with more and more people so they can find their purpose that way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But, so as far as passion, would you say that it's something that comes easy to you, just as an individual? Like I'll use myself as an example.
Sure.
It's very easy for me to write. It's very easy for me to write a story, write a song. I can do it. I mean, just in a moment's time, right? It's just, and it's something that I tend to take for granted.
Right.
And so, whereas Deidre will say, April, why don't you do this? You're such a good writer. Or how do you say this? How should I say this? And I'm just like, what, and I just take it for granted. So like, and so by the time I think about, someone the other day said, oh, are you going to write another book? And I said, well, maybe. And he said, well, why would you say maybe? Why don't you just write it? And I was like, yeah, I want to, but the thought of me putting pen to paper is like, for some reason. But I'm like, when I actually do it, it flows.
Right.
It's so easy. I don't have to think about it.
Right.
But I'm like, so is that my passion? Like, or should your passion be like, I can't wait to get up to do this. I can't sleep. I need to do, what?
Right. What defines that? Sure. It's different for everybody. But I think that when you speak about it, obviously you light up. So it is. So I think that, again, that those thoughts where you're creating that like, I don't want to do that. Because again, as human beings, what we usually do, we tend to do things based on our feelings, right? Like, I don't feel like doing that.
Right.
I don't feel like going to the gym. I don't feel like going to work today, right? Everybody and nobody would be basically doing anything because none of us really feel like that, right? Like it, So I always tell my clients, behave your way into the feeling. So behave your way into doing that. So give yourself, like I do that, go to the gym. I don't want to go to the gym. So I get my clothes on and I'm like, okay, I'll go for 10 minutes. Obviously, once I'm already there and I feel my energy. Because energy, right, you need the momentum. So when you get in that space, that's just your negative thoughts going, oh, that's going to take too long. I don't know what I'm going to say. I'm going to do this. So, but when you're in that moment, so wherever you feel the flow is your passion. Wherever you feel the flow. So that's it. So if you feel the flow when you're writing, if you feel the flow when you're singing, if you feel the flow when you're just walking around out in nature, cooking, whatever your jam is. But when you feel that is like, we're always waiting for that. I feel like that, moment, right? Like it's going to be this like somebody's going to come down and be like, this is your passion. Like that's not it. Right. You do what really gives your heart joy, right? We all say we want happiness, but truly it's more of that inner piece of what makes us feel, what lights me up, what really gets me lit up. And for me, what gets me lit up is when I meet, maybe other women and they're like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. And, for doing that, it gives me permission to open myself up and be vulnerable. So whatever makes you flow is your passion.
I've always also heard the phrase, when you enjoy something that you're doing, you don't have to be paid for it, or you don't want to be paid for it as well. You wouldn't
do it for free.
You do it for free. Yeah. So that as well. So
yeah, definitely.
So
but most people get stuck in like, well, I gotta have a job, I gotta pay the bills, I gotta do all these things. Sure, you can do that. You can have a hobby, could be your passion. It doesn't have to. You don't have to monetize it. But we live in a world which is so wonderful that we can monetize things that we're passionate about. You started a company with your skincare and all that other stuff, and so that we live in a really great time in this world that we can really be whoever we want to be, and we don't have to go through those old paradigms of I need to get a job that looks like 9 to 5, or I've got to go to college, or I've got to get married at a certain time. I think the biggest shift that people can make is just changing their story, changing the belief system, because that might not even be your belief system. It might have been your parents' belief system, your grandparents' belief system, some ancestor down the long time ago who we literally just become again when we're asleep and we're doing the same things and we're just recreating what our parents did. We talked about that a little earlier. We live where closest to what we're familiar with. So again, maybe it's stepping outside and finding something that you didn't even know you liked, like dancing or whatever. It could be something that's you got to experiment and play around with it. It's never too late. That's what I want people to know. You could be 50 and like find your passion.
And be brave enough to like experiment, like you were saying, but be brave enough to just do it. Just go for it and do it. And find it, because
and be okay with failing, because you're not going to get it right the first time.
Exactly. That part right
do you think anybody who Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, do you think those guys just came out with a computer
right out the gate? No,
they tested all that stuff has been over time, and now people are just recreating it. So be okay with failing. It doesn't mean you're bad or you shouldn't have done it, or we learn when we're kids. How do you learn? You go, I made a mistake, I'm not going to do that again, right? So as adults, we become like, oh, that's like the gentleman said, like fear of rejection. It's like, I think we all have to get out of our heads, and it's like, don't be worried about whatever. People are not thinking about you like you think they are. People do not care.
No,
they really don't.
And that's a good point, because I think about even just the kids growing up today, and everything is so circled around and being entitled, being perfect at what you do. Now we have all this social media, so your life is on display.
Blast,
yes, and so people are so worried about how they look and what they're being perceived as. That as far as mentally, as far as and being a parent, what would you say, like, far as raising children, because you want them to be happy with who they are. If they make a mistake, or if they, nowadays if they make a mistake, oh, look at what so and so did, and now it's all on social media. Now this child is affected by, we have the bullying, things like that with kids. It's like, how do you, keep kids, you have to be that parent, seems like, that keep kids aware and grounded, and let them know that it's okay to be you, and it's okay to make mistakes.
Absolutely. I think the biggest thing as a parent, I'm a parent, I have 2 boys, and a lot of those things come into play. I already see my youngest son, doesn't want to cry, doesn't want to be like, it's going to be tough. And I can literally see him stuffing his emotions. Yes. And so it's really just, again, like you would have heard, you creating that space and that environment. Because I know when I ask my son directly, what's going on, or how you feeling? And it's like, I don't want to talk. But when you allow that space and you create rituals, it might be a nighttime, like they come in and we have little, snuggle time before bed. And that's when, I think really paying attention that we're not projecting our own stuff on our children. So many parents nowadays have their kids in all these different things, like my kid's going to be the next athlete, or my kid's going to be the next this, that, or the other thing. And we put way too much pressure on our children to be you know, something, let them be kids.
Yes.
Like that's the biggest thing. And let them figure out who they are. It's an evolution, right? I'm still trying to figure out who I am.
Me too.
Right. But that's part of the journey. It should be part of the fun, right? We talked about, Gerald, he has another question, but before I get into his other question, we talked about, he was talking about the rejection thing. But can you speak a little bit about, we don't have a lot of time left, but can you speak a little bit about disappointments? Because I think a lot of people don't try certain things because they are afraid of being disappointed. No one wants to be disappointed anymore, so why even bother? Why even try? So when you're looking for your passion, or you're looking for, you know, if you really want to leave that 9 to 5 or that corporate or rat race or whatever, and leave the sheep mentality behind, but you're afraid of the disappointment because maybe, you know, maybe the first route is not going to be the route that works. So maybe you can speak to that.
Sure. I mean, yeah, and of course nobody likes to be disappointed, but just knowing that you are going to be disappointed, like accepting certain things as they are, like you're going to be in a relationship, it's going to disappoint you. It's not, when you have an expectation, you're going to be disappointed. So maybe if we let go of what the expectation is and really put more emphasis on whatever that thing is that they want to do, whether if it's you want to leave your 9 to 5 job, how are you going to create another source of income? And when we get into the whole I'm not going to do something because I'm either going to feel disappointed, then you're really not going to be living your life. I think accepting and really saying, I don't take, and that's another mantra, and I developed from the 4 Agreements, which is a great book. The 4 Agreements, my other personal mantra is, I don't take things personally. So if you don't take things personally, you're not going to get as disappointed because I know what you're doing isn't because of me. Right. And if I don't get the job, it's not always because, you know, like, it's okay. Somebody else was better suited. Some other opportunity is out there for me. Right. That just means, so again, going back into being in the flow, when we let things in life that we can't control affect us, only thing we can do is we only have control over ourselves. When we start to go back to, you know, speaking from what is in our heart, and I think a lot of people just don't know, and that's when you need to be quiet with yourself, sit with yourself, write yourself a letter, journal, get back in touch with yourself. Again, we're always externalizing. People think, when I get that job, I'm going to be happy. When I get that relationship, I'm going to be happy. When I get the house, I'm going to be happy. And it's never anything outside of yourself. It's always inside. Always. So if you're going back, it's all about self-love, then you can never be disappointed. Because when you love yourself truly, unconditionally, and I'm not talking like, oh, I like myself. Yeah, I'm looking good today. Girl, but like I'm talking about really that love that we all need, because it's all within us. We have the ability to not only get, you know, be expansive, but we need to love ourselves before any of this really, then we can move on. So
absolutely. So Gerald was saying before the break, when you were talking about, he says, I believe Hillary was just speaking on the universal law of attraction. Yes. That which is likened unto itself is drawn. Right before the break, he's asking, is that correct?
Yes. Law of attraction. Yes, absolutely. You're vibrating. Whatever you attract is yes, like attracts like, and you're putting your energy out there. So if you're putting negative energy out there, the world is going to show you more of that. So that's why I'm saying, even if you're in a depression and not looking at like the big picture, like what's it going to look like, take it. We went back to the moment by moment. When was the last time you just, if you can even remember, like, what was that last time when I felt super happy or super connected or super something, you know, some other feeling, and just go with that, and then build on the momentum. It's all about building on the momentum. Don't go all the way, because we never, you know, can resolve the big problem, but break it down in little smaller pieces and make it more manageable.
And you know, and it's so powerful to do that. If you think about a happy moment, and you think about just, you know, in any happy moment that you have had, and you think about the people that were there, you think about how you felt in that moment.
Absolutely.
And it builds and builds and builds. And think about another happy moment and another happy moment.
And the next thing you know, you're happy.
And you're smiling, and it works. It really, really works. It's so effective.
So effective. Do something, whatever. Put music on, change your state. Like if you're feeling funky or you're not feeling good about something, put on a great song.
I do that
change
too,
your state. Do some jumping jacks. Do something that anything that's going to, because energy, and we're talking about attraction, needs to be moved. And so when you're in momentum and you're moving, that's when the shifts start to happen. If we're just sitting back and we're like, I don't feel so good, and I'm, you know, and granted, you don't. And I get that. And I've been there. And I know you know, so just taking it a little bit.
For me, I have to get outdoors. I have to go out and walk or run. I have to get, like, these 4 walls are closing in on me. I got to get out.
Yeah, get it, the sunshine.
It helps
fresh
so
air.
much.
Grounding. Just stand, if anywhere near, go to a park, take your shoes off, put your feet in the grass, get grounded.
Right.
If you live near a beach, which I'm fortunate, then put your feet in the sand. Do somewhere like, even if it's wherever that is, but getting grounded, getting touched back with the earth, because we are all, that's essential, like in terms of that. And
that's what I did a lot too when I was recovering from my surgery. I went to the park a lot. I was out among the trees and the birds, and I went to the beach a lot. And it really just fulfilled my soul and helped me, it like strengthened me a lot. And I was like, okay, I can do this. It helped me. I can move forward. I can, so it is. And I think what you're saying, the connection, we're all connected to Earth,
Mother Earth,
and Mother Earth, exactly. So it's healing. It is the healing point. What do you think about, like, in terms of relationships, one-on-one, like us and men?
Shoot, we need a whole another hour for that, girl. We're coming back to that. Shoot.
Jarvis just said we
That's
have 3
favorite.
minutes. Girl, we should have
That
started
is
with
my
this.
favorite topic, so we're coming back for that. I know. We got a little time. I know.
Hope you guys are tuned in and turn it up.
They're like,
I want to talk about that passion.
that passion.
That passion.
Okay.
Jarvis even chiming in.
He said we should have started that a long time ago.
Go. Caller, you say what?
I know, right? Well, I was thinking about when we were talking, because even in relationships, they say that's for women, that we're attracted to men like our fathers, either how our father was there or not there, or treated us, the characteristics, and like,
she's like going,
I'm like, interesting.
and I know in my lifetime I've seen patterns of attracting the good things in my dad and not the not so good things in my dad in other men and other partners.
Absolutely.
And now I feel like at this age, the second half of my life, I feel more knowledgeable. Of course, you gain wisdom, and I feel like, okay, now I feel like I could pick them better than I used to.
got better, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So in terms of that vibration, that energy, that connection, what is that about? Like, what are we attracting? Like, are we attracting in stages of our lives? Like when we're in 20s, we're all just, hey, let's get loose.
I know what you're trying to ask. So like so you may have been in this relationship in your 20s because that's how you were. That's where you were
and
free,
now,
or whatever. This and that and the other.
And then
that relationship maybe didn't work out.
Right.
So now you've moved on to another one, but that person matched you back then,
right,
and you maybe have grown.
Yeah.
And
but
then
are you still attracting that type now?
Yes.
If you don't change, yes, in a sense, if you don't do, right. I mean, if you don't do the inner work, because a lot of people, what they do, they're in a relationship, say they get divorced or they break up or whatever, and they're like, I'm going to get me a new guy. I'm going to get me a new relationship. And it's like, girlfriend, he's the same guy. He just looks different.
Different
From a
body,
different. He just like, but if you don't change that, then you don't change your story. Of course, we're all going to we gravitate what's familiarity. Your caregivers. It could be a little bit of amalgamation of your mom and your dad. Things, traits and things like that, because if you have unfinished business, which most of us do, we haven't resolved some of those deeper issues, the core wounds that we have. So it's really about going and doing some deeper work in order to find that relationship, that match that where you are now.
Okay. Love it.
So,
love
but
it.
I do want we should have another show just to talk about that, because
Yes.
everybody loves a relationship talk.
Sure does.
Everybody's got some sort of relationship issue, but it starts with you. It's you,
Right? It's you, not me. For sure, it's you,
not me.
Can I say hi to my friend David? Thank you for tuning in.
Absolutely.
I
You
just
like
wanted
that,
to
Jarvis?
say,
David's been chiming in, so we need to give
they're
him
like,
some,
they're gonna get
some love.
that always gets a lot of attention. I wanted to say hi to my friend David.
I'm
Thank
glad
you,
you did.
David.
Yes. Hi,
And-
David.
Oh, and Sandy's on. Hey, Sandy.
Hey, Sandy girl.
And Judy. Hi, Judy. Yeah,
Judy.
awesome. So yes, David is a friend of mine from high school, and we reconnected. Yeah, he recently lost like 100 pounds, and he's like, "Hey, let's talk about relationships." So tune back in next time. Yeah,
Okay.
awesome.
Okay. That's
Wow.
wonderful.
Now that's some overcoming, some
Yes,
mental
he
stuff.
did. Yeah, he
right
has,
there.
like, definitely.
That's
He
some
was in-
overcoming because I'm trying
Yeah.
to come up a little bit.
That's not easy.
So
Yeah,
it's not
he was,
easy.
like-
I know.
He's doing amazing things. So
Man,
I'm proud
that's
of him.
awesome.
That's wonderful.
Kudos,
Awesome.
David.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And Sochi. Oh, hey, Sochi. She says
Sochi, what'd she
she
say?
was saying so true. Oh, I think this is maybe changing your life. I've been moving for 8 months now. Best feeling ever.
Moving on. Maybe
She's
she's
working
been
out, maybe.
Working out, Sochi.
She's been working
working
out.
out?
She looks great.
Yeah, she does.
Great,
she looks
great job, Sochi.
fantastic.
Yes.
job.
Very
Way to go.
motivating.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and that's the thing. You can, instead of looking at each other and as far as getting maybe despondent because maybe you feel someone else is doing better than you, whatever. I think we can be inspired by each other.
Absolutely. Like we were saying earlier, there's plenty for all of us. Don't be, if your girlfriend's doing a great job, yes, again, go with that momentum and be happy for somebody else, because that is going to then therefore attract that in your life.
For somebody else.
Be happy because there is the universe is abundant. Yes, be happy for somebody else.
Because it'll be happy for you.
We're happy for you.
We
are.
It's good. If you if people want to get in contact with you and maybe work with you, or you want to give out your information,
sure. Okay. So you can find me on my website, which is www.hillaryfoster, which is Hillary is HILLARY Foster FOSTER.com. So connect with me there. Definitely. I do coaching. I do psychotherapy. I'm going to be releasing some coaching programs soon as well. So. I would love to connect with you guys. Thank you.
Absolutely. And I'm going to share before we leave. I just want to share.
So she meant working out.
Yeah, I figured she meant working out. So I just want to share to encourage and to just motivate people and just let everyone know out there, you're not alone. Whatever you're going through, you are not alone. If you can, just reach out, or people that you're close to. If you feel something, if you see something, just talk to them. Find out. Sit them down one-on-one and try to touch with them. But I just want to share with everybody Bible verse, Psalms 30, verse 5 from the King James Version. And it says, "For his anger endureth but a moment. In his favor is life. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning." So I just want everybody to hold on. Just hold on to one more day. It's going to be, you're just passing through. It's just a moment in time. It's temporary. It will not last. So we love you. Stay alive. And God has a plan for you. That's the whole purpose. He has a plan for you. And you have to stay here. He wants to work through you to do something in you. So don't get in your head. Get in your heart. Get inside and talk to him, because he's there for you. He loves you.
That's right. Yeah, look that up. Look the plan up. Jeremiah 29:11. That is my favorite verse. I'm just going to leave it there. Look it up. Jeremiah 29:11. That's the verse that's in my heart. His plan for me and plan for you. So we thank you so much for tuning in. We thank you, Hillary.
Thank you, Hillary.
Awesome. Did a great show. So informative. Thank you all of our listeners and viewers on Facebook and like. We love you. We love you so much. We thank you for tuning in. And
remember, your confirmation, your conversation is your affirmation. Sorry about that.
And that's confirmation.
That's right.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Be well. Take care. Bye.